In this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast, we're going to talk about why lone wolf strategies fail for better sleep. So, this one is in particular interesting for you if you've been working on your sleep, working on overcoming bad sleep, overcoming insomnia. You're doing this all on your own, researching the internet, and things are not really working out for you. Then today I'm going to open up a strategy or a idea that will help you to figure out what you can do to actually ease the process, the journey, speed up the journey when it comes to recovering your sleep. So this is the first podcast I'm doing live on YouTube. So if you're listening to this, now you know you can also watch it on YouTube if that's interesting for you. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, it's rather something I would like to listen to, you can check out SoundCloud, you can check out Apple Music, Spotify, and check out the podcast and listen to it maybe before you fall asleep, right? So, why lone wolf strategies fail? Often it's just the first thing that we do. We get faced with a challenge called insomnia, called bad sleep. We experience that this is something that can be really threatening to us because our energy levels drain, right? We're not in the mood we used to be. We're not as creative. We cannot be as productive as we used to. And we kind of want to fix this quickly. So it's kind of not the thing that you go to a doctor right away. It's not the thing where you reach out for help, especially if you ask your family and your friends, they might not be familiar with sleeping problems. So you're kind of alone when you start off this journey. At least that's what happens quite frequently. And what happens then is that we kind of get caught up in research, get caught up in trying stuff, pressuring ourselves because we might not be doing the right things that are appropriate for our journey. We might do the right things and don't have the right strategies in place. And that leads to a lack of results. So often, instead of becoming back our sleep tends to get worse because now things are not working, fear levels raise, um, we lose the confidence that we will be able to fall asleep, and that makes things harder and harder and harder. It's a little bit like, now we're faced with a challenge, right? And if we think about this challenge as being like hiking a mountain, that's something like that's a challenge, right? We want to hike a mountain, but instead of preparing for this challenge, because now if we would consciously want to hike a mountain, we're prepared. We're going to research the mountain before we climb up, right? Or hike up there. We might get the right equipment. We might even ask for some guidance before we move. So we know more about the challenge. We know how to tackle the challenge, and we know how to reach the top of the mountain. So now, often when people hike up mountains, they do so in groups, right? And that's kind of the very first thing that I would suggest. You do not have to walk through this journey on your own. It can be so helpful to do this with others, to share what you're going through with others, to share it with maybe family members or friends. That would be one level of people where you can share it with and share what you're doing, get some feedback, stay accountable. Like if you're doing things, people from the outside are going to be so helpful when it comes to actually keeping you accountable that you're really doing the things that you're supposed to do. Like if you want to climb up a mountain, you need to move upwards, right? You need to know the path. That's one thing. So you might not be aware which path to use. There are a lot of ways that lead back up to the mountain, but there are a lot of pitfalls too, right? So one way to move through and get at least clarity about that path is to ask an expert, to ask for guidance. And if you're listening to this right now, then I can tell you like you can ask for guidance, and you can ask me for guidance for free. Like I always have a couple of spots, 15 minutes. That's not long of your time, that's not long of my time, but it's going to be enough for me to figure out where you're moving and to suggest one thing that you should focus your energy on so that You know where to move when it comes to moving up to the mountain, to overcoming insomnia, overcoming bad sleep, reaping back that sleep that you deserve. Will that one tip, that one thing bring you to the top of the mountain? Maybe not. For some, it does. For a lot, it's the first step, but at least you're not going to move into the wrong direction. You're not going to waste your energy. So, uh, if you're listening to this right now and that resonates with you, make a mark in your mind and say, okay, I'm going to book that call with Michael, 15 minutes. I'm going to drop the link underneath this YouTube video so that you can check it out right away. And I'm also going to drop it into the SoundCloud. But like, message here is you don't need to do it alone. You need expert guidance, and it's so much easier if you have a group of people. Gather some friends around yourself. Best do that with people that are in a similar situation, that have a similar challenge, right? So look for like-minded people that are looking for an accountability partner, somebody that they can share their issues with, somebody that they can share things that work for them with, somebody that will keep you accountable and ask you, well, Michael, you shared with me last week you wanted to do this or that. You wanted to go in bed on time, or you wanted to try meditation. You wanted to get your body into motion, to sunlight in the morning, whatever it is for you. There are a lot of things, some very simple and basic, some more sophisticated, but are you doing the things? Are you doing them consistently? And what are the results? And getting that outside perspective from a family member, a friend, or better, even somebody that is like sees himself, herself faced with the same challenge is just so important. It's actually one of the things in the group coaching that I do, that we do at Sleep Trust, that I lead, is bringing people together to stay accountable, matching people up, saying you're an accountability, build an accountability partnership. You two are accountability partners, right? Find one and then meet up once a week. It's a major, major stepstone towards your sleep. Meet up once a week, and then there's a basic structure that you should follow, like yeah, sharing what you're doing and asking, the other person, did you do that? How did it work for you? Doing a reflection exercise every single week, very basic things, half an hour, and giving so much value to the process. Like on top of that, obviously, when we're talking about groups and group coaching, um, then another thing is like to have the right set of tools in place, right? What are the tools? What's the equipment we need to get up this mountain? One thing is a sleep tracker, right? You want to track what you're doing every single day in, day out, and tracking the results. Uh, might take a little bit to get used to that, but it's super powerful. Another thing might be to stay motivated, right? There are tools to do so, tools that you can use to keep yourself motivated. And sometimes, like coming back to the accountability partnership, sometimes it's just enough to have somebody cheer you up that understands you and understands the struggle, understands when you pull back and don't follow through at times, understands how hard it is to do these things, especially when we're not feeling good, right? So motivation is a key aspect. And like meeting up in a group coaching scenario, that's once a week too. Now you get the expert guidance once a week, which can be helpful too, on top of if you're simply having an accountability partnership. So there are a lot of things that you can do, and instead of just moving through the issue alone, not sharing it, suffering on your own, like a lone wolf, not knowing if you're taking the right direction. You're kind of feeling you're moving the hill upwards, but in reality, you might be lost somewhere in the forest or somewhere else. You might be at risk for pitfalls, which are out there too when it comes to our sleep. Certain things that we do and think there might be a good idea might not be a good idea when it comes to our personal situation, no matter what sleep tip you read in the internet, right? And there's a bunch of them, a lot of them even like contradictory. One person says this, the other one says that, and it's like the opposite. And you think, oh my God, and what should I do now, right? So sometimes it's just good to have get expert guidance where you can share where you personally are coming from, where somebody can put that into context and tell you this is the one thing that resonates that you should try, that resonates with you, your personal situation, that you should try to improve your sleep quality. So, um, moving in groups, leaving the lone wolf pattern might be a good idea. Like if you feel that this is you, that you're running around out there, you're not sure if you have the wrong direction or not, if you're getting lost, you might feel frustrated, overwhelmed. All of these feelings, they're completely natural and they're okay. Like just acknowledge them and then listen to this podcast and think about options. How good would it be? Can I join a Facebook group with people that have bad quality sleep? Can I match up? Can I find somebody that I can meet up with every single week, that I can share my personal problems with, that I can share my successes with, that will keep me motivated to move on, that will keep my belief, my faith high that I will sleep again? I know how hard it can be. If you're suffering from bad sleep for months or years, you might already be taking sleep medication. How hard it is to believe that you will reap natural, high quality sleep again. And you can. Like, you can. Like, for most of you listening to this, for the vast majority of you, you can sleep without sleeping pills, just by doing the right things that match your personal situations, your personal traits, and doing them consistently and keeping the faith that you can. So, that said, what's the conclusion here? Like even, and that's maybe one last important point. If you have an accountability partner, even if you join a group coaching, even if you join a personal coaching with me, where I'm going to coach you like through a process, now you've got a guide. If we do that on person, you've got a one-on-one guide that will take care that you take the right route, will take care that you get the right equipment, that you get equipped with everything you need to walk that mountain, right? But a truth is also that you, nobody else, you need to walk that mountain. Nobody's going to carry you up there. Like in the metaphor with the mountain, you could, pay people to carry you up the mountain. When it comes to your sleep, that's not possible. You need to do that on your own. It's going to be much easier. You will have somebody who motivates you. You will have somebody who will give you the right tools, hand over some things to come over obstacles, bring that, all of that knowledge, the tools will be there, but you need to do it. And I know that from personal experience, not only from when I had my insomnia phase in life, but also literally from walking up a mountain, hiking up a mountain, where I'm not a trained mountain hiker or whatever. And I just joined a group, thought it was a good idea to do so. And on that path, it was exhausting. There were times I thought I'm not going to make it up. I was not alone, right? There were other people moving up that mountain with me. But what came to mind was, okay, I have somebody who knows where we need to move on. He knows the path. I knew they wouldn't leave me here alone, but I also knew it was me who had to make the next step, make the next step, make the next step. Have trust and faith that I will be able to make the next step so long until I reach the top of this mountain. And after that, we had to go move downwards, which was like exhausting too, but on a different level. So message here is, even if you join a group coaching, even if you have, like, if you join a coach, you will need to put in the effort. If you're serious about that and you're willing to put in the effort, then as I said, for the vast majority of you, finding back to superb sleep is just a matter of doing the right things. So, and that's literally all I want to share with you today. So when you listen to this, um, one thing I would recommend, like you can just move on and say, I'm the lone wolf. That's just who I am, what I am, and I'm going to make my way up there on my own. I've got the internet. I can research, I get all the information. That's fine. But if you think that it will be easier, I would really urge you to think about an accountability partnership that will not cost you a dime. You just need to go into the internet, the Facebook group, Instagram group, whatever, and ask somebody, ask if somebody would be willing to join you in an accountability partnership. And if you want to speed up the process, ease up the process, get a guide on top of that, you can check out the group coachings that Sleep Trust offer, where I will guide you, where you will not only get all of the tools that we use at Sleep Trust, but you will also get weekly opportunity to join live sessions and ask your personal questions, get personal guidance. So much easier. And yeah, and for all of you, and that's the last thing before I close up this session, for all of you, if you are not sure if you're doing the right things right now, book your free 15-minute call with me. Spots are limited, but they're always free up. Like I always have a couple of them every single week. Book your free 15-minute sleep clarity call. And if you open up and share where you're coming from, share information about your sleep story, then I'm going to guarantee you that I'm going to point out the one thing that you should focus on right now to really direct your energy to the thing that will bring you to the next level, bring you up that hill, the next stage without, wandering around in the forest getting lost. Yeah. And yeah, and that's it. So yeah, that's it for this week's episode of the Sleep Trust podcast. I'm just thinking of wrapping up the podcast, which I typically do, but I think I'm just going to skip that. So instead of, wandering around like a lone wolf, think about getting an accountability partnership. Think about joining a group coaching environment where we're going to walk up, move up that mountain together, or, get personal one-on-one guidance, which can be a good idea. And in any case, and that's a no-brainer, book a free 15-minute call with me if you're not sure if you're doing the right things right now. And my promise for you is you're going to leave that call with that one thing that you know it's worth putting your energy in. And that's it for this week's episode of the Sleep Trust podcast, the very first one that we did on YouTube, or I did on YouTube Live here. And yeah, as said, if you're rather a podcast person that listens to podcasts without video, check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. And that's it for this week's episode of the Sleep Trust podcast. I hope you enjoyed yourself and that you tune in next time. Until then, have a superb sleep.